history tried to delete her. Her statues were smashed, her name was scraped off temple walls, her face was chiseled away as if she had never breathed the air of ancient Egypt. But stone remembers. Beneath layers of dust and deliberate destruction, archaeologists uncovered the truth. One of the most powerful rulers in Egyptian history was not a man in a golden crown, but a woman who dared to call herself Pharaoh. This is the real, documented story of Hatshepsut, the queen who became king, built monuments that still tower over the Nile, launched trade missions that filled Egypt with wealth, and ruled so successfully that later leaders tried to erase her from existence. They tried to erase her from history. Statues shattered, names scraped from temple walls, faces chiseled off stone as if she had never existed. But the desert kept its memory, and the monuments refused to stay silent. Beneath the damage, archaeologists uncovered the truth that ancient Egypt once tried to hide. One of its greatest pharaohs was a woman. Her name was Hatshepsut. Born around 1507 BCE, she was the daughter of Pharaoh Thutmose I, raised inside the royal court where power, religion, and politics blended into one sacred system. From childhood, she watched how Egypt was ruled, how temples shaped belief, and how monuments turned leaders into legends. But there was a limit placed on her before she could even speak. She was not born a son. In ancient Egypt, kingship was traditionally male, tied to the god Horus and the image of divine fatherhood. Women held influence, sometimes enormous influence, but Pharaoh was considered a man's role. Hatshepsut first stepped into power in a familiar way, by becoming queen. She married her half-brother Thutmose II to preserve the royal bloodline. When he died young around 1479 BCE, the throne passed to his son, Thutmose III, a child too young to rule. Hatshepsut became regent, governing on behalf of the boy king. At first, inscriptions showed them ruling together. It looked like a temporary arrangement, a responsible queen guiding Egypt until the rightful king came of age. But behind the official titles, something far more daring was taking shape. Within a few years, Hatshepsut made a decision no woman before her had fully claimed. She did not remain in the background. She declared herself Pharaoh. She took a trade name, Matkare, meaning truth is the soul of the sun god Ra. She was no longer just a queen or caretaker of power. She was the living ruler of Egypt, chosen, she said, by the gods themselves. To convince a deeply traditional society, she reshaped the image of kingship. Statues showed her wearing the royal kilt, the Nemes headdress, and even the false beard worn by male pharaohs. Her body was sometimes carved with masculine features, yet inscriptions still referred to her in feminine terms. She was not pretending to be a man, she was redefining what a king could look like. Symbolism alone would not secure her rule. A pharaoh needed success that the entire country could see and feel. Hatshepsut chose a different path from many rulers before and after her. Instead of constant warfare, she focused on stability, wealth, and grand building projects that would tie her name to the gods and the land itself. One of her most celebrated achievements was the trade expedition to the land of Punt, believed to be located along the Red Sea coast of East Africa. This journey was recorded in detailed reliefs at her mortuary temple. Ships sailed south loaded with Egyptian goods and returned with treasures that amazed the court: gold, ebony, ivory, incense, animal skins, and even live myrrh trees. These trees were planted in temple gardens, living proof of her success. This was not a simple trade trip. It was a carefully planned international mission that expanded Egypt's wealth and influence without a single battle. While other rulers measured greatness in conquered territories, Hatshepsut measured it in prosperity. Under her reign, Egypt flourished. Resources flowed into temples, art and architecture thrived, the economy remained strong. Her rule, which lasted about 2 decades, became one of the most peaceful and productive periods of the new kingdom. Her greatest statement of power rose on the west bank of the Nile, near modern Luxor. There, at Deir el-Bahari, her mortuary temple was carved into the cliffs in a series of sweeping terraces and colonnades. Called Djeser Djeseru, meaning Holy of Holies, the structure seemed to grow out of the mountain itself. Its design was elegant, balanced, and unlike anything built before. Even today, it looks strikingly modern. The walls of the temple told her story in stone. One famous series of reliefs shows her divine birth, with the god Amun visiting her mother and declaring that Hatshepsut was destined to rule. This was not simple art, it was political message. Her reign was not an accident, it was the will of the gods. Across Egypt, she left more marks of her authority. She restored temples that had fallen into neglect. She commissioned countless statues. At Karnak, she erected massive red granite obelisks that pierced the sky, symbols of her devotion and power. Moving and raising such monuments required immense resources and advanced engineering, proving that her administration was both organized and capable. Yet while Egypt prospered, a future rival was growing in the background. Thutmose III, the boy she once ruled for, became a skilled military leader as he matured. Officially, he was her co-ruler, but real authority remained in her hands. For years, he waited. When Hatshepsut died around 1458 BCE, Thutmose III finally ruled alone. He would go on to become one of Egypt's greatest warrior pharaohs, leading numerous campaigns that expanded the empire. But years into his reign, a strange and deliberate effort began. Hatshepsut's images were attacked, statues were smashed, her names were carved out of monuments and replaced with those of other kings. In official king lists, her reign was skipped as if she had never existed. This was not random vandalism, it was systematic removal. Scholars believe this was an attempt to secure the traditional line of male succession and prevent future challenges to the idea that a woman could rule as pharaoh. But stone does not forget easily. Centuries later, her monuments still stood, even damaged. Her temple at Deir el-Bahari remained too large, too beautiful, too deeply carved into the landscape to disappear completely. In the modern era, archaeologists began to piece her story back together from broken statues, hidden inscriptions, and scattered reliefs. The erased queen slowly returned to history. In 2007, Egyptian officials announced that a mummy long stored in a tomb had been identified as Hatshepsut through dental evidence and DNA analysis. After more than 3,000 years, the woman who had ruled as pharaoh had a face again. There's a powerful irony in her story. Hatshepsut ruled successfully, brought wealth to Egypt, built monuments that still amaze the world, and maintained peace in an age known for war. Yet her memory was attacked not because she failed, but because she proved something too disruptive, that power at the highest level did not belong to one gender alone. The attempt to erase her only made her more unforgettable. If her statues had remained untouched, she might have blended into the long list of ancient rulers. Instead, the damage turned her into a mystery, and that mystery drew historians back to her story again and again. Today, Hatshepsut stands recognized as one of the most effective pharaohs of the new kingdom. Her temple still rises against the cliffs, her obelisks still catch the sunlight. Her trade expedition to Punt remains one of the best documented journeys of the ancient world. History tried to silence her name. Instead, it carried her voice across more than 3,000 years, proving that true legacy is not erased by chisels, politics, or time, but carved so deeply into the world that it always finds a way to be seen again.